There's one thing that stops us from living boldly. And it's interesting because I just went to a program and they talked about that this actual thing can destroy our psychology and actually immobilize us from taking action. Happy Self-Love Sunday. I am Tarnisha Moe Sass. I am your host of Self-Love Sundays with Sass, where we come every single Sunday to talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. And if you watched my video last week, you know that I've declared 2024 the year of the bold. So we're going to talk about some ways that we can live boldly in 2024. But the first thing I want to address is something that stops every single person that I know from living boldly, right? When we talk about living boldly, we're talking about living courageously, taking risk, having courage, that, right? There's one thing that stops us from living boldly. And it's interesting because I just went to a program and they talked about that this actual thing can destroy our psychology and actually immobilize us from taking action. And we all experience it. It is something that is hardwired in every single human, no matter what you do, this one thing never even goes away. And so I wanted to talk about it because I understand that if we don't address this, we're never going to get to the lives that we desire. And that is fear. And it's interesting because a lot of us don't like to admit it. But a lot of things that has kept us stagnant or stuck or not moved or staying in the same place, same job, same relationship, it's fear when it all boils down to it. But the reason we don't recognize it is because we haven't had taken the time actually to sit down and really think and write things out. And so that's what I wanted to do today. We're going to talk about how to identify your fears and actually categorize them so that we can then later on take a look at how to actually understand where that fear actually came from. Okay. So number one, identifying fears. Let me tell you guys, I had no idea just how fearful I was until I started doing personal development a few years back. And because I really thought I had it all together, I was like, I work a great job. I've been at my company. It'll be 28 years this year, if you can believe it. And I felt like, my kids were doing relatively well. We live in a great place. And when I started going to personal development programs, and they started asking me some really deep questions, like who are you and what is the life you really desire? And I started to write those things out. And when they started to ask me, well, why are you not there yet? Why are you not a leader? Why don't you have a podcast? Why don't you have your own business? And at the time, I didn't even realize what all of that was about. Even when it came down to after my divorce and, being in relationships for a while, I just stopped, dating and seeing people all together. I just chalked it up to, I just want to take time for me. But there was something deeper when I started working on me. Okay. And so what I want you to do is take a look right now and reflect on what is it that you really want? And then after you write down what it is that you really want, I want you to ask yourself, why aren't you there yet? What's in the way? Who's in the way? Why haven't you taken that leap yet? And there's so many different fears, but I want you to look at it and we're going to categorize this. I want you to look at your career, right? Whether it's, not going for the promotion or wanting the promotion and haven't done it yet, desiring a raise, haven't talked about it or asked yet. What is it? I want you to look at your relationships, whether you're a parent or not. I want you to start to look at, because I used to do this where, I used to get quiet When things would get chaotic, I would get quiet. People wouldn't believe that. I do. I just kind of go away and just become numb to things and just, shrink back. Do you shrink back? I want you to look at, where are you in your relationship? Is your relationships the where you want to be? And I'm talking friendships. I'm talking significant other. I'm talking children. I'm talking family. Okay. So I want you to take a look at all of that. In your health, where are you versus where you want to be? And so when we start thinking about, fears, and I want to be clear, these can be big or small. It doesn't all have to be these big, gigantic things, right? It could be big or small fears, but we have to listen. In order to heal, we have to be real. In order to heal, you have to be real. You have to get real with yourself. And what's happening is we're not being real with ourselves because we're taking so much time looking at everybody else's lives on social media. We don't spend enough quiet time thinking about, why am I living a life that I really don't want to live in certain areas? Now, and why do I say certain areas? Because some people are killing it at work and like not killing it at home. And some people are killing it at home and not killing it at work. So we want to take a look at, why are you not living the life that you desire all the way around the board? Who said you can't have everything? Maybe it's that little voice in the back of your head, but why is that voice there? Where does that come from? Okay. So we really want to start to take a look at that. And so I want to talk about, there are common fears. Okay. So I just want you to know, like, you're not alone. I do a lot of statistic research. And so I was researching common fears, and fellas, excuse me, but I was looking at common fears in women ages 38 to 55. Like, what are some of the common fears? And it was interesting to me. Fear of failure was number one. And I know that this also is the same for our men too. Fear of feeling like a fraud. That was another one. Fear of being wrong and or ridiculed. And I see that a lot on social media. A lot of times people won't give an opinion or feel a certain way, but won't say it because of fear of feeling like their opinion is wrong, when they don't understand that opinion is opinion and we all have them, and it doesn't make them right or wrong. They just are what they are. Okay. And so the fear of rejection is huge. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of living outside of your comfort zone. And that was a big one for me as well, because, when it came down to it, I've been talking about, cutting my hair for years, and I just didn't take the initiative to do it. And so when this last program that I was just in, and this was like in November, because this is something that I always do, I realized that there was a fear behind it. And it's like, well, it's hair. It's going to grow back. And what am I really worried about? But there was a fear there that I didn't even realize. It was just something that was embedded in me, but it was because I took the time out to really focus on me, to say, well, why am I not living the life that I want to live? Where I found there were little nuances here, like my hair, where I'm like, wow, there's really a fear there. It's the same thing about moving. I've been talking about moving because I don't like the cold, and I'm like, I haven't really been putting the plan behind it. And so I had to start to ask myself why. And when I started to peel back the layers, before it was like, well, I moved here because it was a beautiful place to raise my children, and they went to a great school. It's a place where people leave their doors unlocked. And I'm not saying my door is unlocked. Okay. But it's a place where people do that. And it's so very low crime rate, and then not to say that things don't happen in every neighborhood, they do. However, I'm saying that was a lot of the reason why I was here, right? It was a great place to raise a family. And so I had always said, after my youngest baby graduated from high school, and he graduated in June, that I would move. And then I realized, well, I'm not making a plan. What's going on? So again, because I sat down and took the time to start to peel back the layers, I understood that this has become my comfort zone. I don't know what it's going to be like in another town. And the interesting part about it is that I didn't know anything when I moved here either, but I did it. So it's just very interesting, some of the fears that's going to come up when you start to do this work. And then, another common fear was fear of success. But what was really huge on the scale for women? Fear of speaking their truth. I want you to ask yourself right now, do you have a fear of speaking your truth in any one area of your life, or with any one particular person in your life? Because if you do, we have to write that down, because these are the things that are in your way. We want to talk about blind spots. When you have fear sitting in certain places, whether you carry it in your body, in your lower back and in your knees, because that's where all our trauma and stress is housed, you wonder why we're not getting to a healed place. It's because we're not doing the work. We're not being honest. So I need us to get honest today. All right. And so we talked about, those are some common fears. And why did I give you common fears? Just to give you something to start with, because some people be like, well, I don't know. I don't really, know what fear I wouldn't have. And so as you start to, write your papers. So here's where I want to do it. When you talk about categories, at the top, you just want to put career, and then you start to list some fears, right? Whether fears that says fear of failure, fear of being wrong, fear that you will be rejected by whomever, right? Same thing with relationships. If you want to break your relationships down, you can, right? At the top, you can put, if you're a parent, your children, right? Fear of being wrong, fear of not raising them right, fear that something's going to happen to them. These are all very important, because these are the things that keep us stuck. Okay. I want you to look at relationships, whether you're in one or not. If you're not in one, if you're not in a relationship, but you desire to be, what are some of the fears that are there? Fear that I'm going to choose the wrong partner again. Fear that, this person won't love me. Fear that I'm going to waste my time. I don't care what it is. I need you to write it down. I'm not here to challenge your fear. I'm here to get you to recognize that you have them. Okay. So I want to be very clear with that. I'm here in your health, right? Where do you desire to be versus where you are? What are some of the fears that are there? Why are there? Some people have fear of going to the doctor, going to the dentist. They don't like the way it feels. Whatever that is, fear of going to the doctor and getting some sort of diagnosis that they don't want. So I need you to get those down, right? And then personal development and growth. What are your fears when it comes to investing in yourself, investing in a coach, investing in therapy, investing in a mentor? Investment can mean utilizing your time and or your money. What are some fears there? Fear it's a scam, fear that this person won't help me, or whatever the fear is, or fear there will get to know who I really am, because that's a large fear too. Oh, are people going to judge me if they know who I really am behind closed doors, or the things that I say or the things that I do? That's important, because when you start to write these fears down, then we can get to the next step. But we can't get to the next step, which I'm not going to talk about in this video, because I need you to get through the first step. Okay. And I also want you to understand something. We're going to boil this down, because although you're going to make a big list, all of this boils down to two basic fears. And I'm not going to give that to you today. You're going to have to come back for that. But I want you to look at what's stopping you from moving forward. Listen, January is the time. I know people want to start off with the vision board, but I can't get you to vision if I can't get you to even look at what's stopping you from even creating the real vision. Because people will create a vision. It's, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Most times it's things that they can already do. They don't stretch themselves. Okay. So when you're creating a vision, it should be a stretch for you. Not to where it's not realistic, but it should be a stretch. But most people won't stretch themselves. And the reason why most people won't stretch themselves is because they're not being honest about their fears. Well, working with me, okay? We're going to look at the fears first before we get to the vision. I don't want you to create a vision that's blocked off by fear. Okay? So again, you're going to get a piece of paper. You're going to write down the different categories. We talked about career as a category. We talked about relationships. You can divide it between relationships with your children, relationships with a significant other or partner if you have one, or if you desire to have one. And I also want you to put friendships in there. And I didn't say that because this whole thing, no new friends, let me tell you something. That's the biggest crock I've ever heard in my life. Right? But if there's a fear there, I want you to write down what you think those fears are. This is going to be such an important list. I'm telling you, it's going to be eye-opening if you just take the time. And what do I mean by take the time? 10, 15 minutes solitude. Okay. So we're looking at relationships. I want you to look at your health. where you are versus where you decided to be, what fears are there. I want you to look at your personal growth and development. Okay. Why have you not invested in yourself? Why have you not invested in those things that you know that will help you get to the next level? All right. I want you to write those fears down. 10 to 15 minutes, quiet, intentional time. And here's what you can't do to someone like me. See, I was a mom of 6. You can't tell me they don't have enough time in your day, because a mom of 6 who had my own company as well as working full time, and my children did travel sports. And I'm telling you, anybody who knows me will tell you I was at every single one of their events, except for if they were both doing something on the same weekend, and then me and my ex-husband would divide and conquer. So, and I taught fitness on top of it. So you can't use the time thing on me. Get in your calendar and block off 10 to 15 minutes of quiet time. And I need you to make this list. If you're going to go on this journey with me of bold living this year, so that you can have the life that you can desire, so you can take risk, intentional risk. Okay. We're not just talking about just jumping off the bridge with no parachute. Okay. Intentional risk. Okay. We're going to be courageous. All right. So if you want to go here this year, because it's absolutely attainable, this is the first thing that you must do. And then I want you to come back next week, because we're going to talk about how to look at the fears and then trace where they came from, and also some tools and exercises on how to face these fears so that 2024 will be the year of the bold. And if you are looking for coaching in this area, or looking, you've gotten to this point and you want to create a vision, www.Moe Sass. You can reach out to me, subscribe to my website. I'm telling you, I have some phenomenal things coming up this year in 2024. Also, you can email me, info@mosass.com. I answer every single email. You can follow me on my platforms. They are going to be listed here. I can't thank you enough for spending this time with me. I hope you have the most amazing Sunday, and I will see you next week.